Today we have a fun episode planned for y'all. We were hoping to do this episode weeks back, but we were unable to get around to it. So now we're going to dive into a collab mock this week. I think this is going to be a little bit of a longer episode, but this is going to be a really fun episode, in my opinion. Before that, though, here and right after this intro, we're going to kickstart this with a little bit of Super Bowl dialogue because we never got around to talking about the Super Bowl, even though it happened a little over a week ago now. But we're going to just voice a couple opinions on that, and then we're going to dive straight into the draft. And I am sporting the War Room hat that I custom made while I was at the Senior Bowl. Me and my friend Cade, we went to Lids, and you can just go in, basically pick hats, and then you can have whatever you want embroidered on there. So that's what we did. And I was trying to get the logo because this is technically the font, like pretty similar font and old logo that we had whenever we first started the War Room. But I was trying to get our current logo, and they can't do like logos unless you basically like buy it there, and you have to like come back in like a week. And I needed it done like on the spot. I was going to be gone back here in Denver within a week. So, but I sported it last week, and we had the audio video problem, so it was just audio. But we're good today. We have audio and video, so we're good to go. But we do have a long episode, so I'm gonna try not to yap too much here up front. But the Chiefs got cooked not this last Sunday, the Sunday before this last Sunday, and the Eagles looked magnificent, not the Dolphins. Dolphins are ways away. So really quick, let's take like 3 to 4 minutes on this tops. Pierce, I'll start with you. What is your number one takeaway from Super Bowl Sunday between the Eagles and Chiefs?
Well, the moral of the story is Philadelphia, they, spent years of mediocrity or bad seasons getting draft picks like Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith, which I think is, by the way, still going back to what, 22 NFL draft, steal of the draft. Like Nolan Smith, I feel like should have been earlier that year. I was at the watch party in Dallas, and I'm sitting there. Like, I even wanted the Cowboys to take him because I knew how much of an athlete he was. And seeing him
and
fall
with Nolan Smith, remember, I think it was what's his name? Ari, the
Helwani.
Marov, Ari Marov.
Marov, yeah.
He had said on draft day, he had put out a tweet about 5 seconds because he's always super quick with it. So about like 30 seconds before the draft selection is made, he knows because he's on the scene. And he had said it was Nolan Smith was the pick for Dallas, but it was actually Mozzie Smith. I remember that pretty vividly because I think I was on the phone. I think I was on the phone with you, Pierce, and was I on the phone with you? I was on the phone with someone. It was a friend. It was someone I was talking ball with, and I was there with Alec and Ayush at Dallas Baptist University because we've watched the draft there like 3-4 years in a row there now because Alec used to go there. But and I was excited about it. I was like, okay, we get our person across from Micah Parsons. It's a little bit untraditional because you have two move 9-tech type edge rushers, but then it was Mozzie Smith was the pick. So, but yeah, all right, keep going. Go ahead.
But yeah, just when you build a young core run like that, and then you pick up another guy like Josh Sweat off the bat, just as a on a prove it deal. They were getting pressure with 4 guys, and that can say enough for me because if you're getting pressure with 4 dudes and you're making Mahomes run for his life, that offense isn't going anywhere. Which also rings a bell back to 2020 Mahomes didn't have a good offensive line when they made the Super Bowl against Brady, and that defense exploited that weakness, which is the offensive line. And it was repeated again 2 Sundays ago by the Eagles.
All right, go ahead, Ayush.
Yeah, I mean, Pierce said a lot of what I was thinking. I think the Eagles just kind of came out and played their style of ball. They did their thing. I kind of said that episode before that if they play their style at their tempo, they're going to be able to do what they want, and that's exactly what they did. It also helps that the Chiefs offensively just shot themselves in the foot almost every time they had the ball. Pick six, another pick, a fumble. I mean, you can't have those type of mistakes in the Super Bowl. So, I mean, I think this really just exposed a lot of the weaknesses the Chiefs have, that they've been able to blanket and hide behind a corner, um, for the majority of the season. Obviously, they went, what, 15-2, 16, whatever it was. Um, so, I mean, this is, I think, a wake-up call for them, and I think they're going to be able to make a bunch of changes now that they need to. They're going to be pretty active in free agency probably, with the talent that's been in the trade market and also in free agency. They're going to probably do their thing there. And the Eagles also gave the blueprint of how teams are going to be moving towards in terms of roster structure. Um, so we're going to see a lot of teams, I think, start to emulate that Eagles defense in terms of how much pressure they want to bring, how much power they want to have on the edge. And so I think it's maybe a turning of the page in terms of how things look in the NFL and just the dynamic of teams and players and things like that. But obviously, time will tell. Obviously, it was a really rough game to watch. Honestly, a lot. I thought it was going to be a game. I did win the first quarter of football squares in the squares game, so that was fun.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So when it was, I had 7-3, so that worked out well for me. But after that, it was just a halftime show, and that's about it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. So I have three. I'm gonna fire off three quick takeaways, really quick. One, and I guess this isn't the right time to say this, but and what I should have done is I should have went back, copied the little clip and threw it in on this episode. But the reason why I say it's not the right time to say this is because the Chiefs got cooked. But Ayush, like a month ago now, you were like, I would be super surprised if the Chiefs made it to the Super. And then, of course, they make it to the Super. And I was like, bro, I don't care. You don't have to think they're going to win, but being surprised, and you don't have to think that they're going to get in, but being surprised, come on, man. I think, have you learned your lesson, Ayush? Even though they got cooked, have you learned your lesson? It's Mahomes.
They should have been there in the first place. I think everyone knows that.
Oh, gosh. All right.
They got lucky.
Well, at least I got to respect the fact that you're firm on your belief there.
Yeah.
So, but okay, and then thing number two, Kendrick Lamar was fantastic as I expected. I thought that was a great halftime performance. He didn't play. Yeah, Peekaboo was all. Whenever he popped out in front of the camera for Peekaboo, that was pretty awesome. But he didn't play a lot of his old stuff. I was hoping that he would play a couple more of his older songs because the new album. At first, the Ayush knows this. I didn't like his new album, but it grew on me a little bit with time, especially now. I went from the point where I was like, man, this sucks, to, oh, this is a pretty good album, but it's not great in my opinion. He has 3 or 4 albums, 4 or 5, honestly, that are probably better than this, but it was a good album, and it grew on me a lot more with that performance. But 3, as a draft evaluator, as a kind of a player personnel type of junkie that I am, because that's what I want to do for my career. Dude, Howie Roseman is a beast. This dude knows how to build a team, and he follows there's so many like unwritten rules that in scouting that people just, it's always talked about, but it feels like in the NFL, GMs always just kind of do their own little thing, especially Cowboys. But even though I'd say the Cowboys, other than a couple years, they've been great drafters, even though that's contrary to belief. But Howie Roseman, so, a couple of these rules are you always build in trenches. And even when you have the amount of guys that you need in the trenches, you keep getting more guys in the trenches. You keep getting more offensive linemen. You keep getting more defensive linemen because it works. It always does. There at some point in time that's going to pan out because you have, if someone is a bust, then okay, you have another guy and ready to go. And that's what he did. And Milton Williams is one of those examples. Getting I'm drawing a blank. Mekhi Becton, and then Jalix Hunt. What the heck, man? Jalix Hunt looked fantastic, especially in the Super Bowl, but pretty much for the entire playoffs. And then draft best player available. That's what he did. He went and got Quinyon Mitchell. He drafted Quinyon Mitchell, and he was amazing this year. He goes and gets Cooper DeJean. He's not afraid to stack. A lot of teams will be like, okay, I got my corner. I can't double down on corner. Or I got my linebacker. I can't double down. He's not afraid to do that. He's like, if this is the best player there, even though I already got my guy, I'm going to go get another one because it's going to work out. So, but I respect that. I love the way he built his team. It's trenches first. It's physical. And then he just added the extra infinity stones with Saquon Barkley, AJ bringing in AJ Brown a couple years ago, bringing in Zach Bond this offseason. But this team was fantastically built. That's coming from a Cowboys fan too, who wished the Eagles would have gotten destroyed by 50 points. But I got to give respect where it's due. That team was built the right way. They had the right dudes. The team itself was phenomenal. And then you had the right coaches, you had the right GM, and the right front office. So, okay. So anyways, that's going to wrap up that portion of the conversation. We're going to dive into this mock draft because this is going to be it's 32 picks. It's a lot of content here. So let me start off with sharing my screen. Maybe. 1 second. Sorry, I got a new computer, so it's giving me a little bit of a hard time here. Allow. Later. Okay, here we go. All right, we're going to show. Oh my gosh, man. It's making me jump through a bunch of hoops. We'll get there, guys. So we got the mock draft simulator from PFF is what we're going to open up here in just a moment once I get this going. But I would like to show off my big board next to it as well for y'all to follow along if I'm able. Okay, never mind, we're not. So we're just going to show the mock draft simulator here because it's not letting me do otherwise, even though I have a split screen, but it won't let you show a window unless I approve and then close out of Google Chrome to be able to do so. So mock draft simulator, that's what you guys see right there. So what we decided beforehand is Pierce is going to go first. Ayush is going to go second. I'm going to go third. We're going to cycle all the way through the 32 picks. We'll make our pick, add a little bit of context to it. Yeah, so let's get this ball rolling. We're going to start the draft. And Pierce, you are on the clock with the Tennessee Titans. What do you pick here?
Well, right off the bat, Titans had a revolving door at quarterback at points this past year. Will Levis has been so far a bust, and Ryan Tannehill, I think, is now a free agent. I'd say you just go ahead and stick with the best quarterback available in the class. QB is pretty light this year, but I would take Cam Ward at pick one. Just so to start building your team around a guy that has proved a lot of doubters wrong throughout his career. I think he was rated a no star, like 0 stars coming out of high school.
Yep.
Went to the likes of
Incarnate Word.
Yeah, and then went from Incarnate Word to Washington State, declared for the draft last year, but then transferred to Miami and had arguably one of the best statistical seasons this past year. And Yeah, I mean that's pretty much what I got to say. I feel like Tennessee needs a QB here, and what better way to start than drafting a guy that can lead your team and has the attitude as well
Yeah.
to be the best guy on the field.
Yeah, and nothing more would make me happy than Cam Ward going first in this class. I have been a Cam Ward truther for years. And I mean, I first evaluated him when he first became draft eligible. I want to say 2021 in Incarnate Word. Then he, man, it would have been 2022, I guess. And then he goes over to Washington State. Then he goes over to Miami. And I was always a big fan of him. And I went from being like, oh, this is a potential starter quarterback to he goes to Washington State. And I'm like, this is a day 2, day 3 type of guy. And then before this season, I was saying that this is a top 50 guy who could be a first rounder in the NFL. And no, not very many people have followed that same type of track with him. So I'm really proud of him, and I'm proud of my evaluation. That's one of those that I've hit home on for a long time. So, and that one worked out where a lot. Rip, R.I.P. Grayson McCall. I loved Grayson McCall the same way I liked Cam Ward, but yeah, Ayush knows that one. But I followed him for a long time, and that did not work out. Dillon Gabriel's on that same track as well, but I think he'll be like a 4th round pick. All right. Anyways, Ayush, 2nd overall. What you got?
Yeah, I think there's a couple ways you can go with this pick. I think the best way to go is to grab the best available player, and that is with Travis Hunter. I think he's going to be the versatile guy that everyone thinks he is. And I think, I mean, a lot of people could say you can go quarterback, you can grab Shadori here or something. Um, I think this is a draft where you can get a quarterback way later. I think we talked about this a while ago in terms of the outlook of this Browns roster and what the GM should do. There's a bunch of day 2, day 3 guys that he can plug in and like he can keep the ship afloat while you wait for your next franchise guy. And I think you get that in Ewers, Gabriel, um, Pal McCord, all in like the 4th, 5th, 3rd round around there, So, and Abdul Carter's there. I do think that with Myles Garrett gone, they're going to get another 1st round pick. I don't know. I doubt it's going to be in that Carter range, but I think there are plenty of good enough edge
Oh
or
yeah.
interior D line guys that you can grab in the later bits of this round that they'll be happy to get and take Travis here. So Travis, I think, is a clear cut option for the Browns, and I think they'll be very happy with it.
Yeah, agreed. I think it for some reason it's become uncool to have Travis Hunter as a top player in your board because Abdul Carter's been getting a lot of steam lately, but Travis is the best player in this draft. Maybe I'll change my mind when it's all said and done. But Travis's overall athletic ability, his fluidity, his ability to control his movements and move with agility. And then he doesn't have like inline speed that's incredible. He's probably going to be like a 4.4 type of guy at the combine, but his play speed is remarkable when he's on the field. That's what they say. Like people will question, like, "Oh, well, you're running the 40, but you don't have pads on," and no one's ever running just 40 yards straight downfield unless you're just like a go route type of 9 route type of receiver. But he's the type of guy that he's able to, in terms of pure play speed, in terms of processing, agility, control, in unison with his actual speed and acceleration. He can move very, very fast and in and out of breaks and movements, whether it's as a receiver or as a corner. But so we should probably figure this out. I probably should have figured this out before we started this episode, but 2 things. And I'll establish this one. So this mock's going to go no trades. So that means that some guys because it's way too confusing, especially with 3 people on a mock. But that does mean like a player could in theory slip. So worth noting. This isn't some like, oh, the NFL is going to follow this type of thing. This is kind of more of just a fun exercise. And then 2, do we want to do this? I lean the first way, I'll say, but do we want to do this mock as a this is what I think is going to happen, or do we want to do this as a this is what I would do if I'm them? Because I think it would be more uniform to do the first. Do it the way that we think they would do it.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, sweet. Okay, so I'm up at 3, and that's important because that does change my trajectory here. Because if I were the Giants, I would not be going Shadir Sanders here. If I was their GM, I think Shadir's a good quarterback. I still have some more homework to do on him. I've watched a lot of tape on him, but I do need a little dive a little bit deeper into this past year, which was a good year for him. But I think 3 is a little bit rich for me, and even more rich than I think Cam Ward going at 1. I have Cam, I think 14th on my board right now, but that's kind of the quarterback premium type deal. I have Shadir more in the late 20s, early 30s type range. So I don't like Shadir going 3rd overall. But since like I said, we're going to do this the way that we think they would do it. I'm going to go Shadir here because the Giants need a quarterback. They're in danger at quarterback. I don't think any team in this draft needs quarterback more than them, to be honest. Even more so than the Titans, because at least they have a Will Levis. The Giants, they don't trust Drew Lock, and I don't even think Drew Lock's under contract after this past season. So they're in danger. Okay, so Patriots are on the board. Pierce, you are up. Pierce, your mic's off.
Sorry about that, guys. Just based off of their play and just seeing what Cincinnati or not New Orleans had, New England. I can't say words today, but seeing how New England has their guy at QB, you want to build around him with weapons. So what I would go is I would probably go the best receiver available, and I would take I can't say his first name, but McMillan out of Arizona.
Yeah. It's Tetero. I call him Tet myself. I like Tet.
I would just say Tet McMillan because you can't teach that kind of size to be able to run and have that long of a wingspan and catch radius. A guy like that would be a best friend for a QB. Just look at Mike Evans. He's been best friends with every QB the last 14 years he's been in the league. So or less, my bad, 11. But still, like McMillan at pick number 4.
I agree with that pick. I think that's what I had on my mock 1.0, but Tet's a beast. And Mike is the running comp. Mike Evans is a running comp, and I think that's a very accurate comp. Okay, so we're sitting at 5, and somehow Abdul Carter's still here. But like I said, I think in this situation, we're looking at someone trading up or trying to trade up for Abdul Carter because you have the second best player in the draft falling all the way to 5 at this point. But Ayush, what do you got for the Jags at 5?
Yeah, this is kind of interesting to me. I think their offense is pretty set. Their O-line could probably use a little help, but I don't think they want to go with a tackle here. I don't really think any interior guy's worth the number 5 pick. So they're going to look defensively up here, I think. And, Abdul Carter is obviously there. I think corner is more of a need for him, but corner, there isn't really a guy I would consider at 5 either. So I think with them just being at 5, I think they got to go best available to take Abdul Carter. They got Trevon Walker, they got Josh Hines Allen, but I mean, I think it's too good of a player to miss out on at this point. So you can get another. Maybe they go the Eagles draft route and just stack up on the trenches like we were talking about earlier, you know. So I think
Yeah.
Abdul Carter is a guy that could probably fit in really well into this defense. They do need help kind of everywhere on this defense right now, especially in the corner spot. But getting to the if you can get to the quarterback, you don't really need corners. So Abdul Carter is probably going to help in that aspect.
Yeah, I will note Mason Graham would be worth this pick. If I was a Jags and in the likely scenario where someone's already traded up and probably leapfrog them, because like I could, if Abdul did slip this far, I would imagine a team would be trying to like trade up at like 4 because the Patriots aren't like you can trade back a little bit and maybe get like a little bit closer to 8 or 9. So if there was a team
True.
that wanted to move some pieces, like if the Panthers were like, okay, we need some help, and this is a surefire type of guy that we could get and add. We lost Brian Burns. I could see the Panthers moving up with the Patriots and trying to get that pick, and then you could still get Tet at 8. But Abdul's there at 5. That's a steal. That's probably one of the best picks in this that will be seen in this mock. But in that scenario where he wasn't there, Mason Graham is worth that pick in my opinion. Okay, so we're sitting at 6 with the Raiders. This is one of the most polarizing picks in my opinion, to be honest, man. Like this is a tough one because obviously they need the quarterback. That's a big deal, but you're not going to at this point. Let's see. They have
Yeah.
Trevor Sikkema has Dillon Gabriel as the best available. I think I have Jackson Dart. Let me check my board. Yeah, I have Jackson Dart as my top available quarterback, but he's 51st on my board. I'm not taking the 51st best player in this draft at 6. That would be even worse than Michael Penix, the guy who's I think 29th going to 8. So this is a little bit of a tough pick here. I'm going to probably just lean on going best available here, and I'm just going to take Mason Graham, Michigan defensive lineman. This is good value here because he's 3rd on my board. You're getting him at 6. Definitely not like the biggest need type of pick. They need a lot of different things, but you plug him into the interior defense. I assume Max Crosby is going to be back next year, even though there's always the trade talks with him. But you bring in 2 high motor type of guys to that defense, and you get you kind of instill the pure Raiders type of feeling to that Raiders defense with that duo. And 7 is Pierce.
Well, this pick would be pretty easy if they hadn't decided to move on from Aaron Rodgers. But uh, again, they're in the same situation where QBs there aren't that many surplus. There's not that big of a surplus of first round talent QBs in this draft. Uh, as you know, Shador and Cam Ward both went within the first 3 picks. What I would go is I would just stick with my gut. I mean, their offensive line needs help. Their defense needs help. QB is the biggest problem, but I would just stick with probably the best offensive lineman available, and I would go with Will Campbell out of LSU, offensive tackle here, because I feel like it just best available. I don't think you can get anything better than that. I mean, the guy I think allowed maybe 1 sack his entire career at LSU or something like that. This past year, at least.
Yeah, I agree with that. Will Campbell's a beast. All right, number 8, Carolina Panthers are on the board. Ayush, what you got?
This one's tough, honestly. I'm looking through the options here, and I'm just not sure. I think they're going to go someone on the defensive side, probably an edge. Um,
Oh, there's a
there,
lot of guys.
see, that's what I'm gonna say.
I know, man. I would be having a heyday with this pick, to be honest, if I were
I'm
in
trying to
this
figure out
situation.
which edge they would probably go.
My best available is Jalen Walker. He's way lower because
Yeah,
Trevor Sycamore views him as like a tweener. So that's why I think he's like 39th on his board or something.
dang.
Oh my gosh, where is he? But and then there's
Yeah, I was thinking
Mike
between
Green
Mike Green
13th.
and James Pierce is low on yours, but it looks at it. Yeah,
Yeah, he is. I have some combination of character concerns, and then he's a tiny little edge rusher. So
I see. Man,
yeah,
I
there's Jalen
think
at 32.
uh, you know what? Let's
Oh,
take.
worth noting, just really quick. My comp for James Pierce is Brian Burns. So just want to throw that out
Interesting.
there. Use that as you will.
I'm not going to use that at all. I'm taking Mike Green.
That is the responsible choice here.
I think,
Did really well.
yeah, I mean, his obviously stock's going to jump super high after that Senior Bowl stuff. So um, I think that's going to help him. I'm just reading what you wrote about him, and it sounds like a guy I'd want. So I'm going to put him on the Panthers.
Yeah, he's a great player. I like that pick a lot because uh, Mike's he's a little bit smaller than you'd hope. Like I said the same thing for James Pierce. He's a smaller type of edge rusher, but Mike Green's still. I mean, he's a sizable type of guy. He's still 251. That's what he measured out at the Senior Bowl. He does have shorter arms, but he is one of those kind of high energy type of edge rushers that the Panthers really like. And that's what they got in Brian Burns. And obviously they did trade that away, but I think they're uh, in a good position now to kind of bring that back. And Mike Green could end up better than what Brian Burns was for them. So I like him a lot, and he's a good dude too. He's a high character type of guy. So, all right. So I'm sitting at 9 with the Saints, and this is one of the most interesting picks in this mock because this is where I think Ashton Genty territory like comes onto the scene. Because worth noting, who did the Saints just hire as their head coach?
Kellen Moore.
Kellen Moore,
And where did Kellen Moore go to school?
Boise State.
That's it. So I would imagine that he's someone that's going to go in there and he's going to be like, hey, I really like this Ashton Genty kid a lot. And I don't know if he'll pound the table for him, but I would imagine that he might be someone that's like, okay, I really like Genty. Kamara's getting older. But I do wonder if as your first move as the coach, if you want to get kind of an unresponsible type of pick as a running back, but at the same time, as a coach, you want the safer guy. Ashton Genty is the safest player in this class, and you get a running back. That means that at a bare minimum, you have a form of an identity on your offense that even in the likely event that Kamara starts to slow down this year, because I got to imagine it feels like it's every single year. I got to imagine that Kamara is going to start to really, slow down at some point. But I say all that to say that I'm not going to get him. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go. Let's see. Oh, this is tough. There's a kid down there in Texas A&M that fits the bill here for me. He's higher on my board than this kid right here, Michael Williams. Michael is who I went at 9 last time on my mock because I like him as the Cam Jordan type of heir to the throne. But I do have a higher grade on Shamar Stewart, actually by a fairly large margin. So I'm not even going to overthink it. I like Shamar Stewart a lot. I'm going to go Shamar Stewart right here. And 10 is Pierce, Chicago Bears.
Now I know this team has somewhat has it all. Now I feel like with the addition of new head coach Ben Johnson, and right away now that I've had time to think about it and just realized that what kind of a gutsy head coach and a play caller would be as Ben Johnson in Chicago with a young quarterback like Caleb Williams and the offensive weapons that he already has around him. Um, and it also just gave me, I keep thinking about it based off of your mock as well, Dylan. A lot of his success at Detroit came with a running back set.
Hmm.
You had the Sonic and Knuckles tandem of Jameer Gibbs and David Montgomery. In Chicago, you've already got uh, DeAndre Swift, right?
Yeah.
Swift is there. Yeah, yeah. Swift's a little old. You got Johnson as well, but I mean, Swift's getting a little older. I mean, you could always take the younger pick right here. I mean, I've got Ashton Jeanty going at 10. As much as that hurts me as a Cowboys
Yeah.
fan, really would liking that running back option. I just feel like with a two-back set and Ben Johnson, with a Caleb Williams like this offense can be through the roof this next year with a guy
Mhm.
like Ashton Jeanty at running back.
I wonder if they'd move on from Swift if like this offseason, because there's another kid that the Cowboys really liked too, Roshan Johnson. You mentioned him.
Mm-hmm.
I think Roshan Johnson's due for some more of a workload, and I think he's a good player. And him and Ashton Jeanty would be a really fun duo, in my opinion. And you would get a
Yep.
lot of pounding ground. And then Ashton Jeanty can do whatever you want at a high level. He can do interior, exterior, zone,
Breakaway
gap.
speed.
It doesn't matter. He can catch the ball. He can pass block. But you get an all around type of guy to pair with a bruiser and Roshan Johnson, who can also pass block really well. Okay, San Francisco 49ers at 11. Yush, what do you got?
And this is also another one. I think there are plenty of options they could go with, especially at this pick. Um, Defensively, I'm leaning Walter Nolan.
Hmm.
I'm trying to see if there's a better pick on the O line that I'd like better. But I think,
Membu's a beast. Banks a lot. Yeah, they have a lot. Honestly, they have a lot of options here. This is good range for the
uh,
49ers.
I think, man, I, I can't get my eyes off Walter Nolan.
Hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
might go with Walter Nolan here. Um, I think he might just give them that kind of burst, that kind of energy that they want
Yeah.
from that defense that is really getting a lot older right now. Um, I mean, right now their top two guys in the middle are Malik Collins and Javon Hargrave, who aren't bad, but once again they're older options. Um, so I think Walter Nolan can provide a really good boost for him on the interior there. And I mean, I think with Debo also on the move, just kind of like the Browns, they could probably get another pick. Probably not super high, but somewhere in there that where they could get a quality offensive lineman somewhere deeper in the draft because I think offensive lineman is probably the best position uh, to hold it. I mean, obviously, if there's a top end guy, you get a top end guy. But I think time in and time out, there are plenty of later round offensive linemen that just go under the radar that are going to be picked up and turn out to be really good. So I don't think they lose a ton of value on the offensive side by going defense here.
Yeah. Yeah, I like Walter Nolan a lot. He's a lot higher on my radar than some, although lately he's gotten a lot of steam. So I think this is going to be where his range kind of starts right here at 11 and 12 because I think Dallas could be interested in him as well. Um, so this is an interesting pick with Dallas beyond just the fact that I myself am a Cowboys fan, but Luther Burden was, if I'm not mistaken, Luther Burden. So I mocked to Dallas. Yeah, I mocked Luther Burden in my first mock to Dallas. Uh, You also have to factor in the fact that Will Johnson's my best player available. He's actually number 4 on my board, so him making it to this range is would be fantastic value for Dallas, but that kind of depends on what they view with the Trayvon Diggs situations, because Trayvon Diggs, beyond the fact that his injury recovery is going to actually bleed into possibly the first month of next season, beyond that, there are a lot of whispers saying that the front office and coaching staff is really upset with Trayvon Diggs' recovery process and how he's managed taking care of his body from his torn ACL in 2023 to re-injuring his knee, the same knee this season. So that's a very polarizing type of situation. Then you factor in the fact that the new Dallas coaching staff is very offensive line centric. Your new OC, man, I can't think of his name, came from the Cardinals. He's a good coach. Was the offensive lineman coach in Arizona. You bring in a new offensive lineman coach to your staff as well. This is a staff that is very much polarized mesmerized, I guess is the right word, by an offensive line. So I could see Dallas pulling the trigger on a Kelvin Banks or a Armand Membu here as well. But I'm going to just go ahead and go with the guy that I mocked last time. I'm going to go with Luther Burden. I love Luther Burden's athleticism. He's the same type of guy as a Malik Neighbors, not the same, a little bit of a step down, but he's a very Malik Neighbors type of player. That was the first thing that came to mind whenever I watched him this summer for the first time. And Dallas needs someone to pair up with CeeDee Lamb. If you look at most of these good teams, the Chiefs are in their own kind of territory. But if you look at most of the good teams in the NFL, they have at least 2 very good wide receivers on their roster. I mean, we just saw it from the Eagles. The 49ers were in the Super Bowl last year. They had Ayuk, they had Deebo Samuel. It happens time and time again. Teams need good receivers. And Dallas needs a good second option to CeeDee Lamb's first option. So the Dolphins are up at 13. And Ayush, you are up.
It's
I think
Pierce.
it's me, actually.
Oh, is it Pierce? Never mind.
Yeah.
Stupid.
Again, I mean, Miami, there's a lot of question marks for this team, a lot of safeties. But then again, you brought up Will Johnson has, gone from, as one of the top prospects to dropping into the teens. You've got Jalen Ramsey on that team who is getting older.
85 years old or something now. It feels like Jalen's been in the league for forever, dude.
I mean, 2016 was when he was drafted, dude. It's almost 10 years now.
Man, wow, yeah, it feels like longer than that, man. I don't know.
Yeah, I was about to say.
2016 is right, but it feels longer. That's crazy.
It does. I'm going to take the best player available. I'm going to go. Well, if I'm the Dolphins, you want to build the future at corner. I think they're going to take Will Johnson out of Michigan at 13. Best player available, and it just feeds in perfectly. You let Xavier Howard go because he was asking for too much money, and B, just lost his mojo.
Yeah.
But yeah, build for the future and draft a guy like Will Johnson to not only prepare for when Jalen Ramsey does end up hanging up the cleats, but just have the youth around.
Yep. All right, Ayush, you are up at 14 with the Colts. I have a very specific guy that I don't think I'm ever going to drop from mocking here at 14, but I'll see. I want to see what you go here.
For me, this is pretty easy. I think a lot of people might disagree on who I pick here, but I'm going to go Colston Loveland.
Oh,
the Colts.
Wow.
I think he is better than Tyler Warren.
Oh,
wow. I think Tyler Warren is more of a it really depends on the scheme with Tyler Warren, and I don't think pairing Tyler Warren up with Anthony Richardson is the right move for his success. I don't think they'll pair up pretty well. I think Colson Loveland has the ability to kind of just make any type of catch. This is a guy that
Yeah.
I watched a lot last year. I didn't watch a bunch this year, but um, I think I've seen this guy make a ton of really, really impressive catches for a tight end. Um, he looks really long. I don't know how like measurables are, but just seeing him on the field, he looks like he has a really nice catch radius.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, we
and
don't have official arm length measurements yet, but I imagine it's gonna be nice.
yeah, and I think with a guy like Anthony Richardson, a quarterback who is going to give you a very wide range of accurate and inaccurate passes, I think having Colson Loveland as your safety valve, and potentially even more than that, I think this guy could maybe be the number two option beside Michael Pittman. But I really like the idea of Loveland in Indianapolis more than Tyler Warren. I think Tyler Warren's really, really good too. He had a really nice season this year, but Loveland has been my top tight end since last season, and I think he's the top guy to go this year.
I really like your explanation on that because I hadn't thought of it that way. Because so one, if your quarterback's Anthony Richardson, you're going to get a lot of passes that are not, right there. They're going to be up here. They're going to be over here. He's not an accurate passer, and he probably never will be. His play style is not accuracy; it's athleticism and explosiveness. So getting someone like Colson Loveland who has better hands than Tyler Warren has good hands, but Colson Loveland has a significantly better dexterity, I would say, than a Tyler Loveland or Tyler Warren. So that makes a lot of sense to me that you go get someone who is going to be able to catch pretty much any pass in the book. And he's going to have to exert that quite often because of Anthony Richardson's accuracy woes. So, all right. So we're here at 15. And I feel like this is an easy one because, man, did I mock him? I think in my first mock, I had the same player that I'm about to do here. Who was it? Yep. All right. So we're sending Jalen Walker to Atlanta. He just has a little bit of a short commute, and he's staying at home, moving over to Atlanta, where he can play. They need a linebacker, they need an edge rusher, they need pass rush really bad. So they can do whatever the heck they want with him. He's versatile. He can play like I said, he can play linebacker, he can play edge rusher. I think he's an edge rusher at the pro. I think that's one of the most interesting conversations in this draft is what will Jalen Walker do at the pro level? Is he going to be kind of like a Micah Parsons, where Micah was early on in his career, where you're kind of just moving him around, or is he an actual true edge rusher? Is he an actual true linebacker? I think it's the first one. I think he's going to be kind of like what Micah was early on. You move him around, you do what you need to do with him. You have certain packages for him, and he's going to be very explosive. So, Jalen Walker to Atlanta, and the Cardinals are up here at 16. Pierce, what you got?
Cardinals, yeah, they got their QB, they've got their receivers. Well, receiver. It's actually not. They've got their weapons around. A lot of aging, like as in James Conner and stuff like that. But their biggest need is defensive edge. I could definitely see them going, you know, the route for Nick Scorton. They could be going, to. I'm trying to figure out some other edge guys.
Got
I mean, a
Pierce,
stretch would
Michael
be,
Williams
yeah,
is
a stretch
Raku.
would be. I mean, Landon Jackson could be a
I like
stretch.
Landon.
James Pierce, JT. I can't say his
Tuimoloau.
last name. Yeah, that one. Uh, but
The
I'm gonna
streets
stick
call
with
him
my
JTT.
yeah JT. Yeah, JT. I mean, he was a menace during the playoffs. And I feel like that would just catch a lot of eyes, and just knowing that Ohio State breeds pass rushers with the Bosa twins, Chase Young. It's been a minute since they've really gotten like a top tier guy, but I just feel like with what they had, what's available, and what they need, I could definitely see them going after a guy like Nick Scorton and drafting him at 16.
Gotcha. All right. Nick Scorton here at 16. So that means, man, how many edge rushers you got at the board now? 1, 2, 3. Well, defensive lineman. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pass rushers in the first 16 picks. That's insane. And that's a testament to how good this this defensive line class is. There is, if you need pass rush, like, you're in the right spot. You're in the right draft. So this is a good situation to be in if you need a pass rusher. All right, 17 is the Bengals. Ayush, what you got?
Yeah, so I've been thinking about this. Don't think they go offense here. I think they have to go defense with all the
You're getting fired if you don't get a
positives.
defender, honestly.
Exactly. So I was looking at the roster. I was like, there's a ton of ways you could go here. Um, I mean, they can improve in almost every single aspect of this. And so the first thought for me was just grab the best corner, which is I think Barron.
Yeah.
But I decided to look a little deeper, get a little, put my mind inside the Bengals headspace. The guy that they hired for their defensive coordinator is named Al Golden. Al Golden was a defensive coordinator for the Fighting Irish this past season. And so that's why I'm going to be selecting Ben Morrison at 17 to go to the Cincinnati Bengals.
Wow. Yeah, that's one of the most surprising picks so far. Worth mentioning with Ben, he does have a medical problem going on right now that is going to. So in this scenario, this means that the Bengals meet with him at the combine. They ask him about his he had a big time hip injury this year, which is a big deal because you're a corner. So the most important trait of your body as a corner is your hips. So this means that the Bengals met with him. They ask him about it. They probably ask every question in the book that they can. The medicals come back afterwards. The medicals are clear, and you feel confident about his health. So because he's a very talented player, I still need to get eyes on it. He's one of the guys I just haven't had a chance to watch it. But that's definitely an interesting pick right there. So this was an interesting pick in my mock. This is the most interesting pick in my mock 1.0 because, like I said, the same thing that we're doing here is what I did for my first mock, which is not what I would do. It's what I think they would do. What this team, their thought process is for this pick, and because of that, whenever you get to that and you couple that in with 0 trades, players will slip, which is why Abdul Carter slipped for us in this mock. And that's what happened in my first mock. Shadir Sanders slipped because at that point in time, I was like, okay, do I really think Jalen Milroe could have a good pre-draft process? I'm not a Jalen Milroe fan myself, but I thought I went through the train of mind that, maybe Jalen Milroe goes to 6 instead of Shadir Sanders. And at that point, I was thinking Titans would pass a quarterback. And then Shadir Sanders fell all the way down to here. But they don't have that luxury right now. So they're not going to go get a quarterback because you can't. You need an edge rusher. You need an offensive lineman. You have all of those available because offensive linemen have – wow, yeah, we've had one offensive lineman picked here. If you want to go edge rusher, I mean, there's a couple guys here that I really like. I mean, Donovan Ezeraku is big on my radar. Landon Jackson. Micah Williams, I think, is due to come off the board. Then you have on the flip side, you have guys like you got Melissa as a tackle. Banks and Membu. Josh Simmons is also available, but I'm hearing really bad reports for his injury that he sustained this season. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and go Michael Williams. He's not my favorite type of player here. He's more of a moldable ball of clay, not a complete type of prospect, but he is a very lengthy edge rusher. He's kind of like the ideal build. Like if you're in terms of build and body type, this is you build this type of guy in a lab. He's not someone that just kind of comes out of nowhere. But here he's a very well built, long arms, tall, lengthy, has a lot of weight on him, and he's very grounded with good balance, but he is very unpolished. So I think Seattle would draft him here, and they're like, okay, we can build this guy up and make him the type of guy that we want him to be, and it could ultimately be something that could be a steal here. So 19, Pierce, what do you got for Tampa? Mike's off again.
Again, I'm sorry, guys. Got a lot of people moving in and out of the apartment. Just, good season, really good season for this team. A lot of people didn't expect them to be in the position they were. They still got their receiver, Mike Evans. They've got, some other small guys. They could bring back Godwin, but with the injury that he sustained midway through the season, I don't know if they're bringing him back at all either. So, seeing if their biggest need is wide receiver, I could definitely see them going after Mike Ibuka. You could go. I feel like the receiver. You can go Matthew Golden out of Texas if you wanted some speed. If you wanted the speed option, but I feel like the safe option for them would be a guy like if they wanted to, receiver. I would take Ibuka at pick 19 for Tampa. I think they would take Ibuka.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, my comp for Ibuka is actually, it's Chris Godwin. So that would make a lot of sense for them to basically substitute Chris Godwin for young Chris Godwin. So, okay. So Ibuka is off the board here at 19. Ayush, what do you got at 20 with the Broncos?
This was easy for me. Tyler Warren's going to go here instead of the Colts. I think this is a much better fit for him with the Broncos. Bo Nix is going to have that secondary weapon outside of Sutton. Warren just kind of really fits. I think I've seen everyone. I see like the occasional Broncos stuff. I think from following like Mark and James on Twitter. A lot of it is talking about Tyler Warren to the Broncos. So I think a lot of people that think this is a really, really good match for the two people, and I think it's just the right fit, right everything. It's going to work out well.
Man, if you said at the beginning, you're like, oh, this one's easy. If you were to pick not Tyler Warren, I would be like, you have to have some beef with the dude after passing on him at 14. Like the prime spots for him are 14 and 20. And if you passed on him both times without any hesitation, I was going to be like, okay, dude, what happened between y'all?
Did you have money on Boise State and he ruined that for you or something?
Yeah.
That's what I would have asked that, man.
Tyler Warren like stole his lunch money or something in middle school.
He's too old, bro. He's probably like a senior when I was in middle school.
Let's see. He's an older prospect. I know that. No, he wouldn't have been. He's an old he's 25, so he would have been 2 years older than us. So
3 years old.
He would have been.
He would have been.
I don't know. Well, I think he would have fell into 2 years older than us class. I don't know, but
he's still in school, bro. He's 25.
All right. Anyways, so it turns out Tyler Warren didn't steal his lunch money, so he picks him here at 20. Poor Malachi Starks. The dude is just free falling right now, but I don't know where to put him. He had a bad year this year. I'll say that. Not a bad year. Let me reframe that. He had a disappointing year compared to expectations. He was supposed to have a Kyle Hamilton type liftoff.
Yeah,
but didn't happen.
he's really raw. Like he's a raw talent for sure. He's got
Um,
great ball skills. But yeah, go ahead.
yeah. Okay, so this one's actually pretty. I think this one's easy for me. Is it? Let me just connect the dots here because it might be almost too good to be true. Is it? Yeah, I think this one's pretty easy. Yeah, Jedi Baron to the Steelers at 21. I love this pick. Baron is someone that I think when it's all said and done, he could fall. He could end up in my top 10. Um, he's a damn good football player. So, if they were to go out and get Jedi Baron, you are able to kind of, man, what's there? So you get Porter on one side. Barron would probably be your nickel. That's where I like him best as a nickel. And you get with Barron, you get one of the best. You're gonna immediately have one of the best nickels in the pros. So who's your other guy? Who is that other guy? Oh, is it Dante? Can't think of his name. Dante Jackson. There we go. If he's brought back, but that's a pretty good trio right there. And then you get Minka Fitzpatrick in the back. So that's a good defensive backfield that you get to build around the fact that they have such a great defensive line, a good defensive backfield. You can get some coverage sacks with that as well. Their linebacker room still needs work, but you can add the kind of finesse aspect to your defense there. Okay, so the Chargers are up here at 22. Pierce is up. Unfortunately for Jim Harbaugh, his guy Colson Loveland is off the board. So, but yeah. All right. So what do we got here, Pierce?
Well, still very much alive on the edge front. You still got I mean, you got a surplus of them, and
Yep.
he has his guy at quarterback. He's got receivers. Uh, I mean, you could look offensive line for him. I mean, interior. I don't think that much. I mean, you could take tackle. You could just to build on that offensive line. And because Jim Harbaugh loves running the football, I mean, I feel like you would want to stock up, especially with a guy like Kelvin Banks,
Yeah.
this far down the board at 22, still being available. Um, but Joey Bosa is getting older, as he is also entering, I think, year 10, as he is the same age as Jalen Ramsey or the same draft
Yeah, and
class as
he's
Ramsey.
not the same guy. He's not one of
Mm,
those older guys who you kind of are like, man, he's timeless, but
No,
he's gotten older and he's not the same guy.
he's aging like milk, not like fine wine.
Yeah.
So with that, I'd probably take, I wouldn't take I don't know if he's a project, but I wouldn't take Landon Jackson. I wouldn't.
Ooh, I know a guy. I know a guy, man. I know a guy.
I feel like this would go against everything Jim Harbaugh would say, but I let's take a chance on a guy like Jack Sawyer out of Ohio State. And
Oh, yeah. Well,
maybe that,
I could see it. He fits the bill of Harbaugh. He's just wearing the wrong
Mhm.
helmet.
Exactly. He just
That's the
happened to
problem.
play against him the past 3 years.
Yeah.
I mean, you could do that. You could do Tut, JT Tut or JTT.
Tui Molowow.
Yeah, yeah.
Hang on. I will say Sawyer's comp for me is the guy you were just talking about, Joey Bosa.
Of course it is. Why am I? I mean, you could also go James Pierce out of Tennessee.
I don't know if that one is Harbaugh though.
But I could definitely see a guy that's a run stopping because you still have Khalil Mack, who is kind of underrated now. I would say because he's still dominant when it comes to he's not getting triple teamed and tossing off its alignment with one arm, but he's still I'd say he's one of the premier edges that are still in the game today. But yeah, if I had to pick, and if I was him, I would. Yeah, I'd take a chance on Jack Sawyer. I mean, you could see him as possibly an Aiden Hutchinson type, maybe. But then again, that's just trying to compare an apple to a pear, is Michigan and Ohio State.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll take Jax. I think they take Jack Sawyer here at 22.
Yeah. You're never going to guess who my Aiden Hutchinson comp was when he was coming out of school.
Another Joey Bosa.
Yeah. So.
Why do I keep? This is weird. Stop reading my mind, or am I reading yours? I don't know.
All right. Ayush, you got an interesting one here. You got 23. You got your team. Shamar Stewart was my pick whenever I mocked them a couple weeks ago, but he's off the board.
No need.
So no need. All right. So what do you got here then?
So basically, what's happening first is that we're going to trade for Max Crosby. That's what happened first. We're going to trade for Max Crosby. That clears out our edge problems. We're going to trade for Devontae Adams. That clears out our wide receiver problems.
Bro's going to be like, oh, yeah, and we're going to trade for Mahomes.
We don't need Mahomes. We got
Jordan Love. Gosh.
We got Jordan Love.
This dude.
Fate of the universe. Mars has got the death beam pointed at us. But yeah, so I really thought Barrett was going to fall. I was looking at his report I was looking at his report right as he took it for the Steelers. So I think I'm going to go with Siobhan Ravel, who I think schematically fits really well with the Packers. His RAS score might not be as high as Packers would like, but I really think
it will.
It will?
No, it'll be. Well, hang on. It won't because I don't think he's going to do a full workout because he's recovering from a torn ACL. But as a pure athlete, he's a stud.
All right. Maybe that ACL injury might hurt or steer him away just because of all the injury problems we've had with Jair recently. But I think on paper, Ravel really fits exactly what the Packers need right now at the quarter spot, especially if we move off Jair this offseason, which a lot of signs are pointing towards it. It's a very, very likely that it could happen. Ravel could probably be that plug-in guy that can really just maybe have no drop off in production with his addition to the team.
Yeah. Yep. Let me check though. I want to see. He is he's my 10th highest rated athlete in this class. So
okay, there you go.
So he's athlete, and that's behind he's the best receiver or running back other than Hunter and Abdul Carter. So okay. So we're going Siobhan Ravel here at 23. And then the Vikings are now on the clock. Let me make a decision here. So in my mock, I had them go get Armand Mimbu, and honestly, I don't know if I can deviate from that. I really like that pick for them. We're gonna make this quick and easy. It's Armand Mimbu, beast right there. He's a top. He's one of my first round draft picks or first round grades right now, and he falls at 24. So that's a good pick right there. All right, so 25 is the Houston Texans. Pierce, what do you got?
Big need for the Texans is receiver. Tank Dell is going to be out for who knows how long. I mean, there could be, someone that could throw something out there as he could possibly not play again. I mean, you've not only tore your ACL, but you dislocated your kneecap, broke your leg as well, I believe. Like it was all I know was a bad injury. Stephon Diggs is hitting free agency, and they have no intent on bringing him back, as what I've heard. Robert Woods is also hitting free agency. So you really want to hit wide receiver hard in this draft. And the best receiver available is Matthew Golden out of Texas. And you need receiver. You need help to have CJ Stroud. Unless you unless you do something crazy like trade for Devontae Adams to get into Houston, which who knows what the heck's going to happen. But Matthew Golden.
Yeah, I like that pick too because He's a speedster type guy. He's going to be a 4-3 type of player, but a lot of times when you get those type of guys, you're not getting a very polished guy. And that was my problem with I was wrong on Worthy, but my problem with Worthy was he wasn't a polished type of player, and he was unreliable as a pass catcher. But Matthew Golden basically took on that spot. And what I like about Matthew Golden is he's a detailed athlete too. He's not just a raw type of speed and agility guy. He's fluid. He's a good route runner, and he actually has really good hands. And you could see that during the playoffs because he made a couple of really impressive one-handed catches. But okay, so 20. Yeah, exactly. Body control is there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Rams at 26. Ayush, what you got?
This is also one where I feel like there are plenty of options to go with. Feels similar to like kind of where it was with the Niners, where they have plenty of options to kind of just take their pick of guys. I think I'm gonna go Kelvin Banks here. I think they could just use any type of upgrade at the O-line position. You can kind of plug him in anywhere. So I think he'll kind of help out there. You know what? I was thinking about quarterback, honestly, for a second. I was like, if this was a draft class where it wasn't super sparse as it is, I feel like there's a chance they would have gone quarterback.
Who would you have gone? Like Dart?
Probably,
Burrow?
Dart or Gabriel, I think. But Dart would probably be like the number one guy I was thinking. Yeah, that's why I didn't do it because it doesn't really make sense. But yeah, I think Banks is a really nice option for him to kind of just keep protecting Stafford, help the run game as well, pretty well. Because their O-line, they have guys, but they're just guys. So I think Banks can be a guy instead of just a guy. That's great analysis, by the way.
He can be a guy instead of just a guy.
Yeah.
Good for them. They get a guy.
Exactly. Well, that's what they need. They need a guy.
Yeah.
They need a dude instead of a guy.
All right. 27. And man, how are we still this far? And Malachi Starks is just sitting there. Someone's gonna get a steal. But I can't, and I feel like we're to the point where it's almost like just take the damn player. He's a beast and he's there. But I can't do it here with the Ravens because your safety. You already have the guy. The role that Malachi Starks takes is the role that Kyle Hamilton has, and he's the best at doing it in the entire league right now. So you don't, But
you don't do that.
They need a pass rusher. They need a receiver. I don't feel like they care about getting a receiver, honestly.
Yeah, because they just give it to King.
And there's not someone who matches up here in terms of value. You need could use offensive line because you might. Do y'all think that they're going to lose Staley or not? Do you think that they're going to bring back Staley? Stanley? Because if they bring back Stanley, that changes my framework here. But if they don't,
you might.
I'm kind of between. If Stanley leaves, I'm going Ariante Ursery. If Stanley stays, we're going Donovan Ezra. So let me do a quick research here. Ronnie Stanley, will he stay or go? Oh no. Let's see what Google says. ESPN has a article right here. So let's see if there's anyone like the link to the team that has anything. We're aware and no. Okay, whatever. Okay, the Ravens fans are sold that he's going to stay. So, and he played out. Oh, and I didn't know this, but apparently he returned to his regular level play last year. So, all right, so we're going Donovan Ezra. Not someone that gets talked about a lot, but I love this dude. He's a beast. Let me pull up my report here so I can just educate really quick. But quick off the line of scrimmage, good block shedder. He down the stretch, this dude was lighting it up, man. He had 14 sacks last year, but down the stretch, he was like unstoppable. I think there was one game where he had like 4 or 5 sacks, and that game I watched that tape, and man, he was incredible. Let me just pull that up because I think it was late season that he was just incredible. So yeah, it was the last game of the season. He had 4 sacks against Pittsburgh, and then the week before he had 2 against North Carolina. 2 weeks before that, he had 2 against Syracuse. So last 4 games of the year, he had 8 sacks. He was averaging 2 sacks a game. He did have 1 sack or one game in there that he didn't have any sacks, but so late season he was just unstoppable. And I rummaged through all of that tape, and man, he's a dude. So I like this for them, and he is a high motor type of guy. He feels like a Ravens type of player. So we're gonna go Donovan Ezraku at 27, leading us to 28 with the Detroit Lions. And I think this is the start of an area of the draft that's like, I mean, Lions, Commanders, Bills, Chiefs, even and the Eagles just love their pass rushers. I mean, all of these teams are in the market for defensive linemen. So there's and they have dudes here. So but all right, and I think a couple of these guys needs offensive linemen too. So the trenches are pretty heavy here late in this draft. But 28 Detroit Lions, Pierce, what do you got?
With the injury to Aiden Hutchinson, but he should be back. There was a possibility they were talking had the Lions, not laid a goose egg against Washington. Um, they would have there would have been a chance had they made the Super Bowl that Aiden Hutchinson would have played. So it looks like he's
Yeah.
progressing in the right way.
He was running. He was doing sprints today. They had there was a video of him doing sprints, and honestly though, he looked a little clunky. I mean, he's fresh off an injury, even though he's still recovering. But he looked pretty clunky. So I don't think even if they made it to the Super Bowl, I don't think he would have played, to be honest. But it's not a concern. He's progressing pretty well. He's healthy.
Mm-hmm. I could definitely see them going. You know, like their needs are edge and corner. They could go after a guy like JTT from Ohio State, another edge just to build behind it, just to because they've got guys like they traded for Zadarius Smith, who is older. They've got Marcus Davenport, who was injured midway through the season, and you never know. With injuries can happen at any time. You could progress with a guy like JT. You could go get a guy like Princely. I can't say his last name. James Pierce Jr. Yeah. Landon Jackson. I mean, just edges galore in this draft, it's just overall in the draft. And then corner. I mean, there's not many top tier corners in the draft left. I mean, unless you want to take the best player available and go a Malachi Starks to help with your secondary. But if I want to go based off of need of what Detroit needs, I'll go JTT out of Ohio State.
I like that pick. That feels like a Dan Campbell pick. Ayush, 29, Washington Commanders. What do you got?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. They are gonna lose 5 receivers in free agency this offseason.
Man.
They only have McLaurin and McCaffrey as guys that are for sure going to be there next season. Bobby Wagner's a free agent. Basically their entire bench front seven are free agents. So there's a lot of ways that you could go. Their entire special teams basically is free agents. That's interesting. I'm just going to scroll. Obviously, they're probably going to bring a ton of these guys back, but not all. So I think the two guys. I think they're going to go Jahad Campbell here.
I like that.
I think especially if they bring back Bobby, this is a guy that can really benefit from working with Bobby Wagner just this season, which will likely be Bobby Wagner's last if he decides to come back. Because that man is old. I was thinking about uh, the Ayo the Stanford wide receiver. I don't know
Yeah.
why, but he feels like a Commanders receiver. Um, I don't know why. There's always like these guys that like just name wise, you feel like they kind of just fit with the team for me, and this is one of them. So
Maybe they could get him in second.
exactly,
He
because
might he might be there.
I think there's a good chance he'll be there.
Yeah.
Because guys like Higgins and Royals might go above him. So
Yeah. All right. All right. I guess I'm up at 30. Well, what did they were starting DeMar Hamlin this year, weren't they?
yeah,
I believe so.
DeMar Hamlin was actually
Okay.
solid this year though.
I think this might be. Yeah, this is
And
all
Micah
right.
Hyde just retired.
Oh
This
yeah, Micah
is
Hyde did retire.
this is Malachi Stark's
Yeah.
spot. Welcome
Steal
to
the
the
draft.
Buffalo Bills. Yeah, that's a steal right there.
That's a steal.
All right, and now, yeah, there's not much to say there. He's a beast, and he's a great run stopper. He's great in zone coverage. He has good ball skills. Great tackler. Upsides there. He also is a high character type of guy. They say that he's an awesome locker room guy. Huge type of build for, well, not huge, large build for a safety. He can be a true free safety. So, yeah. All right. Onto the losing team of the Super Bowl, the Kansas City Chiefs. Pierce, what do you got?
They got embarrassed in the front seven or the front five.
Yeah.
Defensively, they did their job, I'd say, slowing down Saquon Barkley. Generating pressure, though, is a different thing. They could not touch Jalen Hurts the entire game. But then again, they couldn't stop a cold offensively. They were they had four dudes. They sent Davis, Sweat, and Carter on just four men go, and they were getting pressure. So I could definitely see I could see uh, Kansas City going after. Uh, has Ursery already gone? The Minnesota offensive tackle.
No, he's still here. Yeah, I mean
I could
they what
definitely
they need
see
is a
them.
tackle.
They need offensive help. So if they Mahomes can work with a bag of chips offensively, and he'd still be fine. I could, but they need offensive help, and I could definitely see them going Ursery from Minnesota at offensive tackle here, just to help Mahomes,
Yeah.
in terms of protection.
Yeah, and with me taking Malachi Starks a pick before, Ariante Ursery was the best available there. So, and it fits a need. So, it's a good quality pick, good value. So, man, before we make this last pick, I can't. I can't believe Kenneth Grant is going to potentially slip out of the first round. I mean, I can't imagine the Eagles would pick
Philadelphia, they'll
Kenneth
probably
Grant.
pick him up.
Maybe, but that's one of those that's like he doesn't that you already have your one tech in Jordan Davis. That's one you don't get like a bunch of one techs just to get them, especially first round caliber guys. So I don't know if they would use that type of stock, but I like Landon Jackson a lot. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Man, I lost count. 6, 7. I have 7 guys that are a top 32 grade for me that are still here. So there is value here. So Howie Roseman's going to finesse the system one way or another, and he's going to get a dude. So congrats to him, I guess.
Yeah, I'm gonna go James Pierce. It just seems like the right fit. They might lose
That
Josh
feels
Sweat
like them.
this, and it's the guy that falls that has insane athletic ability, all this jazz, and the one that falls all the way to him. So, yeah, I mean, with Josh Sweat potentially gone, with who else was it? Milton Williams is
Oh yeah,
on
that's
the
a big
line,
one.
but he might be gone. I think they want to help out Nolan Smith on the edge and bring in another guy that can really wreak havoc from the get-go. So
Man, Nolan
that,
Smith, dude, that pass rush would be insane. James Pierce is Sweat gone though? I feel like Sweat had one more year because then he
I
signed a
no,
3 year like
he's
2 years ago.
I think he's going to chase a bag. I mean, you had
yeah,
two and a
that's
half
exactly what
sacks
I'm
in the
thinking.
Super Bowl.
No, I'm saying is his contract
He's a
actually
free agent.
expired? Are you sure? Oh wow.
Yeah.
And I know Milton. I don't think there's any way they are able to bring back Milton because Milton's going to ask for money. That dude wants
Hmm.
a couple of dollar signs, and he earned it. But you got
The thing
and Jalen
is,
Hunt had a good end of the year. James Pierce, Nolan Smith's getting it together
they're
this
gonna
past
bring
year.
the entire roster back basically because they only have, I mean, four, five. I mean, you could say 7, 8 guys that are in the rotation that are free agents out of maybe like the 25, 26 that get
It's
rotational
crazy.
minutes. Mekhi Becton's a free agent. Nolan Williams, Zach Bond, Josh Sweat, Burks, Brandon Graham, and Kenneth Gainwell are all free agents, and that's
Wow.
about it in terms of important players.
Yeah, they're in good shape, man. They're going
Hmm.
to be a good team
Vontae
again, a really
Maddox.
good team again next year. They'll be competing for a Super Bowl for the next 2 years probably. But
Yeah.
man, so yeah, that means Kenneth Grant, guys like Kenneth Grant, Tyler Booker, Josh Simmons. Those are all guys that are typically making the first round. They all slip out of the first round in this mock. Uh, yeah, so let's just really quick run down this list one more time and then we're gonna get out of here. But just gonna quickly run down who went where. First overall, Titans get Cam Ward. Second, Browns get Travis Hunter. 3, Giants get Shadir Sanders. I'll say the position. Quarterback. 4, Patriots get Tedero McMillan, wide receiver. 5, Jags get Abdul Carter, edge rusher, one of the seals of the draft. 6, Raiders, Mason Graham, defensive tackle. 7, Jets, Will Campbell, offensive tackle. 8, Panthers, Mike Green, edge rusher. 9, Saints, Shamar Stewart, edge rusher. 10, Ashton Genty, Walter Nolan, defensive tackle. Luther Burden, wide receiver, goes at 12 to the Cowboys. 13, Dolphins, Will Johnson, cornerback. 14, Colts, Colson Loveland, tight end. 15, Falcons, Jalen Walker, linebacker. 16, Cardinals, Nick Scorton, edge rusher. 17, Bengals, Benjamin Morrison, corner. 18, Seahawks, Michael Williams, edge rusher. 19, Buccaneers, Emeka Buka, wide receiver. 20, Broncos, Tyler Warren, tight ends. 21, Jedi Barron to the Steelers. He's a corner. 22, Chargers, Jack Sawyer, edge rusher. 23, Packers, Siobhan Ravel, cornerback. 24, Vikings, Armand Membu, offensive tackle. 25, Texans, Matthew Golden, wide receiver. 26, Rams, Kelvin Banks, offensive tackle. I have him as an offensive guard, but 27, Ravens, Donovan Ezraku, edge rusher. 28, Lions, JT Tuamoloau, edge rusher. Man, I can't believe I got through both of those names without stuttering. That's pretty
That's
impressive.
impressive. Yeah.
29, Commanders, Jihad Campbell, linebacker. 30, Bills, Malachi Starks, safety. 31, Ariante Ursary to the Chiefs, offensive tackle. 32, James Pierce Jr. to the Super Bowl winning Philadelphia
Mercury is
Eagles
from Kansas
edge
City
rusher.
too, right? He said
Oh
that
yeah,
in
there you go.
that
That I
interview.
didn't think about that. Yep, he is. So it's a good fit for him.
Which pick
Yeah.
do you hate the most out of all
Do I
this?
hate the most?
Yeah.
Mm.
That's a great question. Probably man, okay, I hate to frame it this way, but I would probably say with if you're the Patriots at 4, you go Abdul Carter if he's there.
Yeah,
but I totally get the framework, and I've had that mock there a number of times. But when Abdul Carter's there, I feel like that should have been the pick. But like I said, in that situation, you're trading back, you're pulling the shoot. But if you had to stick and pick, then I would go Abdul. But I'm not a big fan of Scorton at 16, and I'm not a big fan of Morrison at 17. But
No, you're not seeing my vision, bro. You're not seeing
seeing the vision. Yeah, well, it's the hip thing for me. I'm just not confident about that. I like a lot of these. I like pretty much every single one of these picks. But yeah, and we did get the edge rusher run there at the end that I was expecting. You get 27, 28, 32, and then 29 you get a edge rusher linebacker type of hybrid type of linebacker. Yeah. All right. So it's going to wrap it up. We finally got this behind us because we've been trying to get this off the schedule for a while. So I'm glad we were able to do that. We'll figure the next step out, but I'm going to be out of town for like 10 days starting Friday for work. So we'll figure out how we can fit in the next episode, whether it's do it before then or if y'all record, I guess, while I'm gone, but we can figure that out later. But yeah, so yeah, I like the collab mock format we got here. Hopefully we're able to do another one before the draft in April. I think on the schedule we're gonna have it on the schedule where we're gonna try and see if we can get a couple more people on here too. So all right. Well, yeah. Anyways, that's gonna wrap it up for us. So let me end the screen share so I can play our outro. Sweet.